All right, here we go. We got 20 minutes before Sean Olmstead joins us. So that's the perfect amount of time to reveal the Wise Guys top 10 sports stories of 2024. This has been an amazing year. And when you think back, so much has happened. So long ago, the basketball team stunned the Big 12, went to the big dance. Then they had coaching changes, and then things happen. And, man, that was a lifetime ago because of how big the fall has been. But we've come up with the top 10 that the Wise Guys believe are the top 10 sports stories for BYU of 2024. And as we roll them out, you let us know what you think on our live stream.
And I'm sure there's some others that are near and dear to your heart, too. So
we don't have a drum roll, but we'll just say.
We're going to start with number 10. And we're going to work our way to number 1. That's how we do our top 5 for everybody that's on the show. We'll do that with Sean later. So Olympians in Paris, 2024. Kenneth Rooks, one of the best stories of the year with his silver medal in the steeplechase coming from nowhere. And then how about Connor Mantz, Clayton Young in the marathon finishing 8th and 9th. That's the fastest U.S. times in Olympic history. 2 BYU guys were in the fastest times in Olympic history.
And they're so good. They're just good young guys. We've interviewed them.
Yes.
They're just great representatives of their sport and of their school and the church and then they're so fast.
It's so fun.
They're just great.
And if you just meet them out on the street and introduce them, you'd be like, that guy's an Olympic? Like,
yeah, really?
We were in some place and Connor was there, and I said to somebody, can you pick out the best athlete in this building? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm going, how about that guy right there? And they go, no. And I go, yeah, he is the best athlete.
That's him.
In the building. That's Connor Mantz. Like, oh, man, that's right.
We were bummed out for Jimmer, as he's been on our show a lot, and with the buildup of him and going to win a medal in the 3-on-3 competition for the first time for the United States, and he got hurt the first game, and the Americans bowed out. And we'll get Jimmer back on the show and talk about how he's doing. But he was one of the big stories, if not among the biggest, especially for 3-on-3 basketball for Team USA. Yeah. So he went down, and then his team went down. So that's number 10, our Olympians in Paris 2024. The 9th top BYU sports story of 2024, according to the Wise Guys, is Lauren Gustin becoming the all-time rebound leader at BYU. Honorable mention, AP All-American, 504 rebounds last season. That's the 4th most in NCAA history. 30 double-doubles, which was number 1 in the country. 1,694 career rebounds, moved past Tina Gunn. Who thought in their lifetime they would ever see someone move past Tina Gunn?
Never, right?
And 1,666 career points, 4-time all-conference, first-team selection. Lauren Gustin is the number 9 of the top 10 BYU sports stories of 2024.
And the biggest thing was that she came back because she went out into the portal and everybody wanted her. The best rebounder in college basketball, one of the best in college basketball history. And she decided to come back and be the leader on that team. Love Lauren Gustin, what she did.
Amber Whiting's going to be on the show next week, and she might argue that she should be higher or lower on the list than 9. But we've got her at 9 because there's 8 really, really good ones ahead.
Yeah.
All right, number 8.
Number 8 is BYU basketball. Now, remember, we're talking about this year. Basketball started this year at the beginning of the year, and now it's going again here at the end of the year. So there might be more than one basketball related. But number 8 is BYU basketball reaches the NCAA tournament as a 6th seed.
A 6th seed coming out of the Big 12. A
single-digit seed that had no expectations to compete in the Big 12 last year. And they got eliminated by 11th seed Duquesne in the first round, 71-67. But how about the fact that they had a 23-win season, and during that season they upset Kansas 76-68 in Lawrence, Kansas on February 27th. They finished 10-8 in their first year in the Big 12. Nobody saw that coming. And kudos to that BYU basketball team. That's our number 8. Did you expect them to be there?
No. And we called the games, and we were surprised. Mark Pope did a great job. The guys did a great job. They had some huge wins at home. The Marriott Center was as loud as we ever remembered it. And then they went on the road and did their thing to go 10-8 in the Big 12, the toughest basketball league in the country, with guys like Noah Waterman and a size that was challenged in every game. Now, this year they went out and got taller. But last year, Foose was undermanned in every single game, and he just fought. Yeah. And they got to the show, the big dance, worthy of number 8. Here comes number 7 of the top 10 stories in 2024. The men's and women's cross country teams sweep the national championships. First sweep in 20 years. The men won the title. The women won the title. They also dominated the Big 12 and won those titles. Ed Eyestone and Diljit Taylor were national coaches of the year. Now, thousands and thousands of fans don't line up to watch cross-country events. They're kind of hard to follow because they're running all over the place. But when you think of programs that we see running around town all the time because they're out
getting they're always out running, yeah.
But when you see these two clubs defeat everybody and win national titles, it's just stunning.
And when it's something that hasn't been done at any university for 20 years, like, it has to be a top 10 story. And maybe it should have been higher than 7.
Yeah, there were so many things.
You and I were going back and forth on that one. There's just so many good things that happened this last year. But that one had to be in the top 10. And congrats out to Ed and Diljit, who we love and have been on the show and are great to us. That was an amazing accomplishment and an amazing year for BYU sports. So they come in at number 7.
Number 6.
Yeah, number 6.
These next few explain kind of why they're number 7.
Right. Mark Pope leaves for Kentucky on April 12th. Like, did any of us think that was coming down? When that Kentucky job came open, and now we know that Mark, that maybe was his dream job, but all the talk had been like, no, this is my dream job now. We knew that the only job that might be able to lure him away is the Kentucky job where he played his collegiate years with Rick Pitino there, won a national championship there. But when that job opened up, his name wasn't even being talked about.
No, there were too many other names.
He was like, wasn't the first choice. He wasn't the second choice. Like, that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, Mark Pope's on his way to be the head coach at Kentucky.
Now, there's some significance there, and that Kentucky is clearly one of the top 3 basketball programs
of all time.
Of all time.
Yes.
And a BYU coach left the job at BYU to go to be the head coach at that place.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Sarkisian is the head coach of Texas. And played football at BYU.
Legendary
Andy
program.
Reid played at BYU. He's the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. Are there any bigger products than these names we're throwing out?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Of what BYU folks have been able to do. So Mark Pope, that's number 6. Number 5, Kevin Young is hired as the new basketball coach on April 16th, so 4 days later, and he leaves the job as associate head coach of the Phoenix Suns. Now, just as strange as it might sound that a BYU coach would leave for Kentucky, an NBA coach destined for a head NBA job leaves the NBA to become the head coach at BYU.
And really behind the scenes, he basically turned down the New Jersey Nets head job for significantly more money, millions of dollars more a year, and came to BYU. And the question he asked back to the people that were hesitant to even approach him was, what makes you think that being a head coach in the NBA was my dream?
Right.
Like, maybe this is my dream. And he's been phenomenal, and we're going to talk about some of the other stories that tie into that. But, to leave what he left, and nobody thought that there was a chance to get him, he's come in and he's already put his imprint on this university and on the program with the recruits he's brought in. Big 12 season starts tomorrow, so we'll see. But, wow, the recruiting has gone to a different level with Coach Kevin Young as the new head basketball coach.
And that imprint you're talking about is number 4.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Yeah, well, because it ties right in.
Yeah.
Cougars signed Yegor Demon and Cannon Catchings. We haven't even gotten to the other guy. He's a little higher on the list, but Yegor Demon, if he had been ranked or rated as a North American recruit, because they are ranked, he wasn't ranked because he was playing in a professional organization, Real Madrid, and is from Moscow.
Yeah.
He would have been one of the top 3 recruits in all of North America, and he decides to come to BYU. Travis Hansen pivotal in the recruiting of him. I think anytime somebody gets somebody of that caliber, there's guys like Kevin Durant that are involved, and Chris Paul and all these folks that Kevin's been involved with. But that was huge. And then Cannon Catchings, he was committed to Purdue, who just had played in the national championship game, and he's from Indiana. And decommits from Purdue and commits to BYU. These are both projected first-round draft picks and NBA prospects. And then you add Keba Keita from the transfer portal, who killed BYU in their game against Utah last year. And he comes into the fold. He was in the transfer portal, and everybody wanted him. And maybe the biggest recruiting coup of all was getting Richie Saunders, Trevin Nell, and Dallin Hall to stay and to come back to BYU. Richie Saunders was on a recruiting visit at Kentucky when he decided, I think I should come back to BYU.
That's all number 4. That's a lot. That's a loaded number 4. That's why it is number 4. Here's number 3 in our top 10 stories of 2024. BYU goes 11-2 in their second year in the Big 12. And in that 11-2 are some sub-stories. Darius Lassiter's game-winning touchdown to beat Oklahoma State 38-35.
I still can't believe that
in
happened.
A moment where I'm not quite sure LaVell Edwards Stadium has been louder since Miami. It's been a long, long time. Will Ferrin kicked a field goal to beat Utah 22-21 with like 3 seconds left. The Cougars climb as high as number 6 in the college football playoff rankings. Number 6. And Keelan Marion's an All-American kickoff returner. That is number 3.
Yeah,
that is a year.
That's number 3. That's something. And Doug Harvickson on the chat says, hey, Blaine and Dave, Davis-Weber County boys, Will Ferrin, Davis Dart, Parker Kingston, Roy Royal, they did a great job in the game against Colorado. The Fowlers are still honorary Davis County.
There you go.
There we are. We lived there for 29 years. Our kids all went to Davis High. That's why Will Ferrin's my boy.
Now, Weston and Kent are questioning where the cross-country championships, why at number 7, why combined? But we're hoping that these others are explaining why.
And we acknowledged the 2 national championships, and that's something that hasn't happened in 20 years, maybe should have been higher.
Yeah.
That's maybe the one that we're second-guessing ourselves on most. Do we put it up in the top 5? Do we have it like... Mm-hmm. So we had to go with it. We acknowledge that maybe we underranked those 2 national championships.
But we're standing firm on our top 10.
We're going to stand on it.
And here's number 2.
Yeah, so let's go to number 2. Number 17, BYU routes. Number 23, Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, 36-14. First Power 4 bowl game. So they're playing against Power 4 opponent in a Power 4 game. Richest bowl game in program history. Each team got $8.25 million in payout.
Now, before that, the Cotton Bowl was BYU's best. That was $2 million.
Right. It was huge.
8.25.
When the ratings come out, it will be the most watched BYU game in history because it was over air on ABC. All eyeballs were on Shedeur Sanders and the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. The announcers' eyeballs were on Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders.
And we don't care. We don't care so much that they were there to watch Colorado because while they were watching Colorado, they saw BYU destroy them.
BYU's really good.
Yeah.
Defense was dominant in this game. Yeah. Absolutely dominant. And it sets this team up for a preseason ranking going into 2025, which if they can start the season in the top 15, if they had started the season in the top 15 this year, I'm convinced they'd be in the college football playoff right now. But because they started so far outside, they were just waiting for them to lose the game and say, see, that's what we thought, right? Where Penn State that started at number 6, they lose the game, they dropped to number 8. They lost against an unranked team with a losing record. Didn't matter, right? And so, and it's part of it's the brand, Penn State, but it also is where they start. And so this bowl game launches them into next year with who they have coming back and some of these portal transfers already, where I believe they start the season ranked in the top 15th and maybe the favorite to win the Big 12. Different position for BYU.
Much different. Picked 11th last year.
But that's what this bowl game did. And now everyone, all the national pundits are saying, clearly BYU should have been in the college football playoff. They're one of the 2 best teams in the Big 12. And the ACC is looking like crap and on and on and on. So it started a conversation, which I think is great. So that's why we have that one at number 2.
So our number 1 sports story of 2024 is a kid who hasn't even played at BYU yet. In fact, he's just visited a few times. But when A.J. Dybantsa signed to play for the Cougars on December 10th is when he announced he actually signed a few weeks earlier. BYU got the number 1 draft pick or number 1 prep recruit in the country, the projected number 1 pick in the 2026 NBA draft. A kid with no tie to BYU, no tie to the church, saw BYU as better than Kansas, North Carolina, and Alabama, his finalists, to develop him to go to the NBA and also to be a place where in his short time in college he could have a good experience. And he picked BYU as the best spot for him. And BYU got so much pub that day alone, and then the days that followed.
He announced it on First Take
on ESPN. More than anything BYU basketball has ever done. There was Jimmermania, there was the Ainge years, but in one day, this Dybantsa announcement and the coverage it got trumped all of it, and it took BYU to a different place.
Yeah.
His impact will be seen once as he gets here and how productive they are, but also with the players that are going to come here because he came here.
There's already another top 5 recruit that's out there that's saying, yeah, I really have to maybe include BYU in my list right now because imagine me going to play with AJ. Maybe that's where I should be going. And now he's in the mix. I mean, that's what happens. Now, if he comes and he is the number 1 pick, the following year. And Yegor gets drafted in the top 5, which he's projected to be right now. And Cannon continues to develop. Maybe he's a first-round draft pick. Now the pump is primed. And people start coming. And when we say AJ, he was the number 1 recruit in the United States. He's the number 1 recruit in the world.
Right.
Like, if they didn't have the rule that you had to come play at least 1 year of college, he would be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft this year. Think about that. BYU's never had a guy coming out of high school like that. That's that, Now, he's got to develop. He's got to keep getting better. But
got to stay healthy. All those things have to do.
All these things have to happen. But it just changes the game for BYU recruiting. And it changes the narrative. I hear national guys now who don't know anything about the honor code saying, well, it makes perfect sense. Like, if you're going to be a top basketball player, I mean, that honor code is the way you should be living anyhow.
Yeah.
And you don't want any distractions. You want to go focus on your craft. And it's like all of a sudden national pundits are going, yeah, this honor code's a great thing for BYU recruiting.
And we got a glimpse of what life's going to be like a tiny bit. As shortly after the announcement, it gets announced that BYU is scheduled to play Villanova at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I think it's November 3rd. It'll be on national TV. And that's what this does to the program. And there's going to be a whole bunch more of these marquee matchups because people want to see him. And he happens to be wearing a BYU jersey. So then they have to see BYU basketball.
Yeah.
And that gives the other guys on the roster a chance to be seen as well. Who doesn't want to be a part of that?
Yeah, it's fun stuff, and it really does change the game. And
so AJ is the number 1 sports story at BYU. He came in, boy. You come in December and you jump to number 1.
People may
that's
say
how crazy that was.
How do you have the number 1 sports story be a guy that's not even there?
I know it.
But the trajectory of what's going on has just changed with him signing here. So.
Thank you for watching The Wise Guy.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.